able to have a pen and a paper, because this is a class, it's not a conference, it's not online meetings we attend to, and therefore we request members to please have a minute to grab some pen and a paper so that we can learn together. I don't want to have a class where we just learn for the purpose of reading or conference purposes, but at least have something to write. So please take a minute or two, grab something where you can write so that you can always have a review of our writing for our classes. So as I've said, permit me to attach on the chat the course outline for our studies, which we will be using as a guide towards these lessons throughout our periods of time that we'll be conducting the class. I'll also request you to attune your mentality and your psychology to be able to learn the language as a person who hasn't been like a kid. Just be like a kid even though you're not a kid, to learn this language so that you can be able to know from the basics of the language. I'm sharing some of the books which we'll be using. There are 3 books we'll be using as supplementary books as well for these lessons. So I'm just sharing them with you so that you can also have them for the purposes of also review and for the purposes of also learning Swahili at your own pace. But these are reference books that every student must have. In a class, you must have a course book and you must also have a reference book. So I'm sharing with you a reference book. So feel free to, I don't know, okay. So I'm sharing the last book just for preparation. So I've shared 2 books. Let me share the last book. Yeah, grab a pen and a paper as I'm sharing the books. So I have shared 3 books. One, I have shared the course outline, which is Swahili course outline for the beginners. 2, I have shared the book Teach Yourself, which is our main book by Ali Mazrui. I've shared another book, Swahili for Foundation, and a handbook for Swahili. Both are basic books that can help you have basic Swahili lessons and understanding. So that having been said and done, I believe now that you have your books ready. I'll not be sharing the press. It's not like a presentation, but I'd like to share my study line based on the lesson 1 that I've prepared for today. So permit me to do that as well. And basically today we are looking at the history of Swahili, because that's the most important thing to start the language in. So Swahili is a language that is actually having much of African origin. Of course, in some records or some books, they will say that Swahili is a Bantu language. It is true that Swahili is actually a Bantu language, with much grammar and syntax following the Bantu structure. I believe some of us have been exposed to Bantus and you know who or what is Bantu. Bantu are one of the dominant speaking language in the continent, with a percentage of around 30% to 40% of the continent made up of Bantus. We have Nilo-Saharan, we have Afroasiatic, we have Nilotes, we have Kushites, and we have Semites. We have around 7 ethno-linguistic languages in the continent. I've done a research on that, and I've also compiled the total languages spoken in various parts of the Africa, including all parts of Africa. I did some research almost a year or 2 years ago. But Bantu also, like Swahili, also is influenced with the interaction. It appears more of like a lingua franca. I hope you know a lingua franca, or a pidgin, or a Creole language. Because Swahili developed rapidly at the period when the Eastern Africa bloc were actually trading with the world. I know we are aware too much of the trade in the other side of the continent, which is the transatlantic trade, the trade between the Western Europe and the Western Africa and the Europe. But there was a trade that is silently being discussed and talked about, the trade that took place between the coastal part or eastern part of the Africa with the Arabs, the Indians, the Portuguese, and the Spanish. So currently Swahili is actually spoken with majority of Bantu language groups. And as I've said, Bantu language group is spoken, or Bantu is spoken in some parts of Cameroon, in northwest of Africa, through also Central Africa, into the eastern and southern part of Africa. The example of Bantu languages are Zulu. We know, I think we all know about Zulu language, and some of us might be coming from the Zulu here. We also have Kikuyu, we have Congo Zaire, we have Douala in Cameroon. Although they are not mutually intelligible, they all derive from one common ancestral language. So this is where the Bantu is coming from. And if you look very well, the migration of the Bantus sometimes is believed in the historical context that Bantus, or we as African, either migrated from Kemet. But in the geographical migrations of Bantu, they believe that Bantu actually lived and survived in the what you call the central part of Africa, the area of Central Africa and Congo. So they dispersed in various parts of Africa. Some came to east, that's in part of Uganda, Rwanda, Malawi, Tanzania, and Kenya. Some went down to south in the areas of Angola, Zimbabwe, Zambia, South Africa, Lesotho, up down there. Some went to the west, and that's where we find the people of Cameroon and the rest of other parts. So the word of basic words of the Bantu, so we'll be learning a bit on the common language. They also share some basic vocabulary. So if you look at those various communities, you realize they have a common vocabulary in the languaging. For example, there's one word in Bantu called Mutu, which is Swahili. But if you go to Zulu, it means Umuntu, still meaning a person. If you go to Kikuyu, you'll get the word called Mundu. If you go to Congo, you'll get it called Muntu. And you get to Douala, Cameroon, they call it Mota. So you realize that there's a close correlation of language of Swahili with so many other communities. Now, we have also to realize that Bantu, as for example, the Swahili language, also have what you call various dialects. Dialects are actually basically various forms of speaking one language. So language can be, for example, the Zulu might be speaking the Zulu language, but there's a part of the same Zulu. For example, I'll use the example in Kenya. There are people might be speaking Kikuyu in Kenya. And there's a group of a county, a region called Kirinyaga in Kenya. So Kirinyaga in Kenya, they are Kikuyus, but how they speak Kikuyu is a bit different than Kikuyus in other part of Nyeri in Kenya or Kiambu in Kenya. So Swahili also has various dialects. And these dialects, for example, you have a dialect, just note example dialects of Swahili, if you are taking notes. The Swahili dialects include the dialect called Kiamu. If you can see my screen where I'll highlight it. These are the dialects of Swahili. Some of the dialects, there are so many dialects of Swahili. So we have Kiamu, which is spoken in somewhere called Lamu in Kenya, which is an island in the north coast of Kenya. We have also Kimvita, which is spoken in another part of Kenya close to Mombasa. And then we have Kiungunja, which is a dialect largely spoken in Zanzibar. In fact, the other time when I was in Zanzibar, there's a place called Ungunja. So then, based on this variety of dialects, and as I've said, there are also various forms of Pidgin Swahili, spoken mainly, but not exclusively by European or Asian settler. Swahili Pidgin are grammatically reduced and simplifying variants which are often poorly regarded as native speakers. So there is then a need to standardize Swahili. So the Swahili that we actually teach is a standardized Swahili. Based on the fact that we have various dialects of Swahili, there is a need for us to come with a standard Swahili, which can then be spoken or be taught to a variety of people as a general Swahili structure. So there is then Swahili that was picked is the Swahili from a place called Ungunja, which is Kiungunja in Zanzibar. That Swahili is what is a standard Swahili for teaching. And in Swahili we call it Swahili Sanifu. So Swahili Sanifu is the Swahili that is now taught all over. And that's what we call the standard Swahili for teaching. Now, just to give another historical background, of course I'll put the context of our learning of this language into play, is that Ngugi wa Thiong'o once said, language is a carrier of culture, in his book called Decolonizing the Mind. And therefore, if we practice English language, or even what we call the Portuguese, Spanish, and other languages we speak, we actually go with their culture, because there are words in a language that are not found in other cultures. And for example, I'm sorry for using this word, the word sometimes we use to say a mother and an abuse, either motherfucker. That is a language you cannot find in any of African tradition, because we are not in that disrespectful enough to use such languages in our culture as persons. But the more we embrace other languages that have these, those words have an implication on the personality of us as a people practice the language. And therefore there's a need to decolonize our languaging structure. And that's why this class we are having is very important, to bring us back to close to where we should be, so that we can also decolonize a culture we've borrowed with the language. Now, to give that the historical background that I was giving, the Swahili is part of the Bantu language family, or Bantu language family, and has been influenced by various languages. As I said, it's developed as a lingua franca, as a mode of communication between the Arabs, the Persians, the Indians, and the Portuguese and the Englishmen who were exploiting and exploring around the eastern coast of Africa. The same way languages like Pidgin or Creole developed as a medium of language between the west coast during the exploration or exploitation, Swahili also developed as so. So the language, which is Swahili, its syntax and grammar are purely Bantu, but it has borrowed some words from either both the languages or the communities I've mentioned up, Arabic, Indians, or Persians. Now Swahili, as I've said, was originally spoken, if you take note, in the eastern African coast. The Swahili then spread at distant regions like in Comoro, Madagascar, South African, Oman, and United Arab Emirates. And this was through trade and migration. And therefore, there's a key important thing that you need to learn here. That trade and migration was a key element in spreading the language. And as you've all known, actually, if you are trading with another community, you start learning some few words in that. And therefore, one of the ways we as Pan-Africans can also embrace and spread the Swahili language will be through trade and part of migrations. If some other sisters and brothers from the other side of the continent come over here, or marry our brothers and sisters from this side, so that we develop a culture of a new generation that can learn Swahili. Now, missionaries actually played a crucial role in popularizing Swahili as a means of communication to spread their Christianity in East Africa. Remember, these are people who have a mission, and their sole mission is to pray their gospel or their religion. And they have come here and they are finding a group of people who do not speak their English language. Then the need therefore come in on how do you communicate with these people? How do you tell them what you want? And how do they also tell us what they feel? And that also led to the actual spread of Swahili. So as I've said, standardization of Swahili, there was an agreement to come up with a standard Swahili based on so many dialects. And that Swahili is called the Ungunja or Kiungunja Swahili, in a place called Ungunja in Zanzibar, in the other side of the coastal part of Zanzibar. So that is the standardized Swahili for communication. The current status of Swahili communication: the Swahili is now spoken in many countries, as I've said, Eastern, Central, Southern Africa, Tanzania placing a significant emphasis on the promoting and preserving Swahili. We must actually acknowledge Tanzania for this. It is now their official language. In Kenya, of course, Kenya and Uganda have also adopted Swahili as a national language and official correspondence as well. And Tanzania were even teaching Swahili as a language for instructions in their schools. I know they are now taking English. Their speech and their parliaments are conducted pure in Swahili. In Kenya, you can speak Swahili or English in the parliament. But Swahili alone is not in the African context. Swahili has a global influence. As you must know, is that Swahili is gaining a lot of international platform. As some of us are now starting to learn Swahili, we must know that the world is already learning Swahili. Of course, areas and some other elements of Swahili which many people knew are like in the movie that was called The Lion King. There was a word called Simba that was used in that movie. So this is also very important for you to actually understand. And once again, you will be able to understand that as we are sitting here, Russia is learning Swahili, China is learning Swahili, America, their schools offering Swahili, and other places are offering Swahili as well. We have also programs, as you can see. There are programs done in the radio stations. For example, there are radio stations such as the BBC Swahili, Radio Africa, Radio Cairo are having Swahili. There's a Voice of America, Swahili. We have Radio Deutsche of Germany, has a Swahili version. There's Radio Moscow, speaking Swahili. There's also International Russia. There's Radio Japan, Radio China Swahili program, Radio in Sudan, Radio South Africa, and Swahili language is now making its presence in the art world, in songs, in theaters, and in the television programs. For example, we have the lyrics of the song called Liberian Girl. If some of you can remember Liberian Girl by Michael Jackson, one of the most hits of the 1980s then. Liberian Girl. That translation was done a bit in Swahili phrases like, for example, nakupenda pia, nakutaka pia, mpenzi we. These are some of the avenues on how Swahili language has been used. We have in the Disney movies, as I've said, The Lion King, the word Simba has been used, which is the name lion in Swahili. There's a word like Rafiki used in various movies. There's a word like Hakuna Matata, which means there's no trouble or problem, which has also been used in some movies. So we realize that if there's a way on how we can spread Swahili culture and language, is actually through such of the following: through movies. Look, for example, how the Nigerian brothers and sisters have been able to even share their language and their culture to the world. For example, you'll find that in Nigeria, the word Oga or Igwe, everybody know what is Igwe. Some of us in Kenya know what is Igwe. We just say Igwe as a show of respect. Some call Oga because either an elder or a respectful person. We are not Nigerians. But because of their movie, they're able to sell to us their culture and their language. Therefore, if you want to sell Swahili, we need also to go in the direction of a movie. We need to go into songs. The collaborations of songs, for example, if the artist in the western part of Africa can then get in touch with the artist in the eastern part of Africa and do what they call collabo, or a collaboration song, where Eastern Africans, like we have seen it's done between the Nigerian artist and the Tanzanian artist. Diamond has been doing that, and therefore there are words, one or two, that are being brought into the language. And this should also extend beyond the continent, but to the Caribbean, so that the people there learn as their artists sing and that other artists from other communities sing and they share the language. We can be able to learn more about the language. We also have other avenues on how we can spread the language through theater and through arts. And therefore, currently, there are efforts that are being made globally to make Swahili in educational curriculum at higher institutions. And now there are efforts going on in South Africa and other parts of the Swahili language. So basically, these are the few things that I want to give as a background of our Swahili. And I will look forward to let you have some few tunes of what I've said, for example, in the Liberian Girl by the song Michael Jackson, as he played Liberian Girl with the Swahili version of the Nakupenda Pia. Meanwhile, just as a recap, that there's a global influence of Swahili, what you're learning today. The Swahili are being actually the Swahili program in the radios, for example, what I've mentioned, Radio Voice of Africa, BBC, Radio Cairo, Radio Dushare, Radio Moscow. There's also Radio International Japan, Japan International, Radio China. And Swahili is also being used in some songs, for examples, Liberian Girl. There are also movies, for example, The Lion King, globally. And there are other Swahili universities that are offering Swahili in Japan, in China, Russia, America, and other parts. And as I've said, of course, currently eastern part of Africa, including Tanzania, leading on this, make Swahili their official and their national language. Beyond that, I've said again that Swahili has come from various dialects, Kiungunja, Kiami, and other Swahili Kimvita, but they have agreed on a standard Swahili which is called Swahili Sanifu. And that standard Swahili is called Kiungunja, which is actually originating from a place called Ungunja in Zanzibar. We also have mentioned to this that there's a spread of Swahili in various parts of the continent, from Comoros, Madagascar, South Africa, Oman, and other parts of the continent practicing Swahili. I've also mentioned that Swahili is also purely in syntax and grammar Bantu, but also have influence of Arab, Persian, Indian, and English language as well. So basically, those are the few references that I've made in regards to this. So please feel free to start us off with any few questions as the first day, as I'll be looking for the song Liberian Girl. But feel free to ask any questions about the history of Swahili or the usage of Swahili in this our class. This is actually an introductory class to learn the language. Before you go examine to start learning the basics, you need to know the history of the language and relate to that history of the language before you move ahead. Thank you very much for this chance. Feel free to come in.
Thank you, King Pigbin. Members, you are free to raise your hand if you want to say something so that we can just be called as you raise your hand to come on board and say what you want to say or ask any question so that we can move on. Now it's open for everybody to participate. You can show that by raising your hand. Thank you. Yes, Queen Agnes, can you please ask your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Mine is not a question. I'm just grateful for the brief history of Swahili. And indeed, it is a unifying factor. If we think of one Africa with one currency, one passport, and one people, of course, we need a language to communicate with. So we really appreciate this effort, and we will be together, and really I'm very eager to learn. I started it sometimes back. I dropped because I was doing some studies, but now I have much time. I think I'm going to commit myself because it's good for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's exactly why One Map Africa is bringing this class to all Africans, so that as Africans, as we prepare to erase the borders that divide us, we should also be able to communicate in our own African languages. We know that we have so many African languages, but we should have the common that we can all communicate in so that we can continue to chart our way forward. And also, as we say, we wanted to decolonize our minds. We should also do away with this English, French, Portuguese, German, and all these other foreign languages that we are using currently, so that we embrace our own as Africans. That's exactly why we are here. Anybody else with any other question or another comment? You can raise your hand so that I can give you the chance to talk. Yes, King Charles. Yes, King Chasi Itogot, can you please come on board and talk and ask or put your comment?
No, I thank you very much. Am I heard? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we are getting you.
Yes, you are not. I hear you.
No, my microphone is on now. My name is Chasi Togot. It's exciting to get to the Kiswahili class. I think I have two things. One is I have downloaded the books you gave us, though I think I need to find out where they. That's number one. Number two, you talked of songs. If you are talking of songs, I think Malaika would be the most common song that we can relate to. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. Yes, anybody else with a comment, please raise up your hand, then we can give you the platform to talk. Yes, King Kama, please have the chance to talk now. It's your chance. Please unmute your mic and to say your comments or question.
Please reshare the books. I think I joined after I had shared. I can't see them on the chat.
Okay, King Kama, I have shared 4 books, which we have shared. Yes, for those who would want them, I will also share you to your inboxes if you cannot download them from the chat platform, so that you can download from your inboxes. I will ask the teacher to also share with me, so that I can also share with all others who want to learn or read for those books, which are the books which the teacher said is going to use during our classes, and also they can help us also to read on our own as we also try to learn this new language. Thank you. Yes, King Amuka, please come on board. It's your time.
Thank you so much, King Simon, the teacher, Big Queen, and all the protocol observed tonight. My area of addition is just one, in the part of how to spread this kind of gospel, so that it can be a little bit wide across the Africa. He talked about the collab, that's the artist, talks of the art. He talks of several procedures that we can use to spread this gospel. Now, we can try to do that with the little tools that we have. If it's a matter of drawing some pictures, cartoons, so that we start spreading it with the tools that we have at hand now. And when we reach at the procedure, at the stage where we can engage other artists with that level, it find that we already lay a good foundation. So that's only my remark concerning the classes today. But all in all, these are good. Thank you so much, the teacher, and you'll be blessed. Yes, back to you, King Simon. Are you there?
Okay, I think Simon is frozen. Thank you very much for your comments, Brother Mukaswe. Thank you. Any other comment? Yes, Hilda?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm very happy to have this opportunity of learning the language in the sense that we are erasing the boundary which divides us. And then the other point is we are taking development, we are sharing the development which we have to other people so that our African people we can be independent. So that won't be a barrier for us to spread the development to other countries. So this is a good thing which will help us even in the communication to other nations so that we can take the development that side. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other final remarks, comments, or questions? And thank you very much for all those of you who have put up some ideas. Oh, thank you. Charles, it got? Yes, Charles?
Now, there's a comment here you have taught in English, and anybody else who understands or does not understand English is in trouble.
Yeah.
I see a comment here.
It's a nightmare, so I don't know how we'll do it. Or will you then require that you have a French translator who understands Swahili, English, because we'll be using English as a mode of teaching Swahili, which I see is always unfortunate. But you know, you must speak to this.
I think we need somebody who can translate the teaching in French.
Yes, if that would be available, that would be well. So that when I use English as a mode of instruction, they can translate that English into French, so that those who are French students here can be able to understand the instruction we are giving from English.
You should quickly recruit somebody from Congo.
That's to the leadership. I know they note that, and maybe they'll help us get that. Okay, Amuka, once back to you. We are about to close this. Amuka?
Thank you so much, my king. The information taken, translated in the room, we have them. So that's the point taken.
Okay, so thank you very much, comrades, for the first turn of this. As I know it has been also mentioned, this is the start of our class. Today I was giving our background. Tomorrow we'll start directly from the alphabets. From the next week, we'll start from alphabets and learning the vowels, probably from the consonants, because you have to start the language from the smallest level possible. So start learning the vowels and the consonants of Swahili by next class. But what I request that you also have the books that I've shared, but don't be in a hurry to know everything at once. Learn a language slowly, so that that will be very easy for you. Oh, there's a person from the French-speaking community said that they speak French and Swahili. So it means then that will be it's tricky. So they don't speak English, but they speak French and Swahili. But I will be teaching Swahili. So it means basically with them they're not students, because they learn and they know Swahili already. So I don't know how they'll help, but we'll still look for somebody who know English and French, so that they'll be able to translate the English instruction to French. Thank you very much, comrade, for doing for that. As I've said, next week we'll be looking forward to start the first lesson. This was its introduction and history. Our class will always be around 45 minutes to the maximum, to 50. I request that you always come with a pen and a paper, so that you have somewhere you can write. This aspect of saying, oh, we'll be recording, then you'll go and listen to it, no. If you're in a class, take it like a normal class, have a pen and a paper, just buy a small book, put a pen and a paper, so that anytime you are alone, anything written, you can always revise and train and do anything about it, so that next time we meet in a class, you can be able to actually remember. Like now, we are already giving an assignment for this class for the next class. One, I'll be interested in the next class, so that members can be able to mention for us at least two Swahili dialects. That's one of the assignments that you have to take away the note. Next class, come with at least two Swahili dialects out of what I've taught today. Secondly is I'll request that members to actually mention also or list some other languages that have some interaction in Swahili apart from Bantu. I've mentioned some other languages that have some influence in Swahili out of contact between the African and the Indian Ocean trade. So get us even one of the languages that have some interaction or some impact to the Swahili language. Languages outside the continent, not Bantu, the next one. Secondly is actually mention around, if you know that, mention around two countries apart from Tanzania and Kenya that are actually learning Swahili currently or speaking Swahili in a way or the other. So two countries apart from Tanzania and Kenya that I've also mentioned that have some element of either teaching Swahili or speaking Swahili in a bit, something like that. Two of them. Then I want you also to, in the next class, is to give us what is the name of the dialect that became a standard Swahili. What is the name of the dialect that was picked as a standard Swahili, which I said Swahili Sanifu. What is the name of that dialect? Last but not least, mention at least one radio station globally that is using Swahili and one either movie or a song that actually had a presence of Swahili, a movie or a song, one radio station, and one movie or a song that I've mentioned here that has Swahili, that promoted Swahili language. That's what I'll be interested in. So that's the assignment for us for next class. Please note those assignments down. The dialects of Swahili, the languages that had interacted with Swahili or impacted Swahili apart from Bantu, the standard dialect that was picked as a Swahili Sanifu or Swahili language to be taught, the two countries or one country that speaks Swahili or teach Swahili apart from Tanzania and Kenya. And also what I've asked at last is what either one radio station and one movie or theater that promoted Swahili language. So let's meet in the next class with your answers, please, so that you can do this. As we end, I would like to play that song called Liberian No Malaika that actually contributed too much to the spread of Swahili as I try to bring this to an end. And Malaika means angel. So permit me to play that music to enjoy also the Swahili language. And what we'll be doing always is that in every class that we end, we will always try to promote one of the Swahili songs or one of the Swahili music so that you get to interact with those music, because music is one way also of promoting the language. So permit me to play Malaika by Mariam Makeba.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next song comes from...
Wait, I don't think I've shared my screen, my voice, so let me share my audio, because I don't think my audio was shared.
Gentlemen, this next song comes from Tanzania. It's a song in Swahili, a love song. It simply says Malaika nakupenda malaika, which simply means I love you, my angel. Malaika nakupenda malaika, malaika nakupenda malaika, ningekuoa madiwe, ningekuoa dada, nashindwa na mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika, nashindwa na mali sina we, pesa zasumbua roho yangu, pesa zasumbua roho yangu, nami nifanyeje kijana mwenzio, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuwa wa malaika, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuwa wa malaika. Kidege hukuwaza, kidege kidege hukuwaza, kidege nami nifanyeje kijana mwenzio, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuwa wa malaika, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuwa wa malaika. Ewa malaika, nakupenda malaika, malaika, nakupenda malaika, nami nifanyeje kijana mwenzio, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuwa wa malaika, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuwa wa malaika, ningekuwa wa malaika, ningekuwa wa malaika.
Yes, so that's our startup song for our lesson for today. I don't have much to say, but yes, we are looking forward to engage more and more, and every of our class will actually be ending with at least a song, so that we can move together and start learning the Swahili songs with their translation. Back to you, the host, or Brother Simon Chibi, if any of you is around.
Thank you so much, making time for lesson. Thank you. Everywhere I'm listening to
Can't hear you, Brother Simon. Maybe. Brother Simon, I know you're experiencing some network problem. Okay. Sister Chula? Okay, any of you can give final remarks, because from my side, I've ended this, so maybe any final remarks, both from either the leadership of One Up Africa or any member.
Okay, thank you very much. Now that King Simon is having challenges with his network, we are really very appreciative on behalf of the learners. This is a great initiative, and what we can say is may God add you more and more, King Piggy. It is really this is a very, very good initiative, and then this is self-giving because you have offered yourself to teach us. You have offered your precious time, and I just love this commitment and this dedication. From our side, it's always our effort to make sure that we join in time and we benefit from this. So, dear colleagues, I encourage each one of you to bring someone with you next time. It's only once a week, so we may have time to really plan well and attend this precious time. It has really been very good, and by the grace of God, a lot will happen. May God bless you more and more. And what we can say as learners is thank you and good night.
Thank you very much, Sister Agnes. It is a pleasure to hear from you. Yeah, we will do more. I'm teaching Swahili from a conscious Pan-African angle. So we will be conscious of a lot of things that are beyond the text. But I'll also let you know that, of course, I'm a teacher by profession, and I'm a graduate with a degree in education, specifically Swahili language and history. So I'm a teacher of history and Swahili. But just for records, I didn't go to classes after my graduation to teach in usual classes, but I've spent my last 2 years teaching Swahili to the Pan-Africans. So I actually use my language or my education to contribute to the Pan-African liberation, unification, and development struggle that we do as Pan-Africans. So yes, I have that qualification as a teacher by profession and teaching the language that I'm doing today. So thank you very much, and we are looking forward to more and more interactions and more practice and more learning. Just be prepared that you want to learn. Take a pen and a paper and come prepared to learn. Take notes, take assignments, and try your best to learn. Bring one more person, as Sister Agnes have said. And yes, let's do this. So thank you very much to the One Up Africa for giving me this opportunity once more to be with you today and to start this journey. It's a journey that's going to bring us as a family, as a class. It's a journey that is going to help us learn beyond this. Do this learning for the purpose of Pan-Africanism. Don't look it only for personal development, but do it as your efforts towards bridging the boundaries, your effort towards erasing the borders that are in our mind, your effort towards helping to connect with the brothers and sisters in the continent by one language, and language that is Afrocentric. Thank you very much, and may you have a lovely evening as well. From next time, we'll be starting to learn a few vocabularies and vocabulary as we move along. Thank you very much for today. We'll say Asante sana. Asante sana means thank you. Asante sana. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Asante sana, indeed. Yeah.
So the leadership of One Map Africa will be closing the meeting. Hope so, in any time from the host. And I'll see you again next week. So I'll be able to share the books that I've shared to Brother Simon, to those who are not available, so that they can circulate to this class of members here. And in any platform possible, let's meet again. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and please, the song too, with the translation, I really like it. I never knew that that's the meaning of that song. I've been hearing it since I was young, but I never knew that's the translation. It's very emotional. So you may also share with us. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll share with you directly, Sister Agnes, but if One Map has a specific group for this Swahili learning, I'll also be sharing it to that group. But I'll share with you as well, Sister Agnes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Let's meet next week.
Right. Good night.